Stuart, thank you for joining us. First and foremost, it's been an extremely hectic period for clubs just now. How have you viewed what's been happening in Scottish football over the past few weeks?
I think probably the last couple of weeks have been good in terms of clarity. I think that's what everybody was looking for. From a personal point of view, it's been frustration, a little bit of frustration with, obviously we feel as if we've been batting back and forward for a number of weeks. But I think as a football club, we probably made peace with the situation a long time since, looking even right back at the start of lockdown. Speaking with Stephen and speaking with Roy, I think we had an inkling that things were going to go in such a way where we might not be able to finish the season. It's ultimately proved that way. I think that's potentially where we were trying to get to as early as possible so that clubs could plan for the future. And thankfully there has been a decision made on that. I totally acknowledge that it was never going to suit anybody or suit everybody. And there's obviously going to be a scenario where, of course, we wanted to finish the season, but I think what it does now is puts a rubber stamp of clarity on kind of what's happening, and I think we get an opportunity to plan and move forward like we have been for a number of weeks, but we can actually start to see that plan can take shape. And I think that we have to mention within that as well that we realise the bigger picture here, we realise what's going on in the world, and I think that that's most important, and certainly football's secondary to that. But in the industry that we work in, we want to try and make sure that we're in the best position we can be in when football resumes.
You've had the job of reassessing your squad. Given the current circumstances, how have you found that just now? Has it been more difficult for you given the circumstances?
I think it's always hard, Dale. I think from our point of view that there is always a transfer window at this time of year. Players come to the end of their contracts. I think that the scenario that we have in the world probably compounds that and obviously highlights the situation. I think we already had a number of signed players, we had a number of guys that were going out of contract, so that situation is never easy. I think ultimately what we always try and do is what's right for the football club, and we realise that there's going to be constraints within that and we have to work within those boundaries. So again, certainly at this time of year, in the current climate, we never relish those conversations, but like I say, it's always done with the best intention of the football club, and we've come to a decision with a number of the out of contract players. We've spoken to them direct, which we always believe's the right way, and we would always give any help that we possibly can. There's always an exit strategy with anybody leaving our football club, and we just have to see how we move on and what we can do going forward, whether we're able to add to the squad, and obviously from my point of view and Stephen's point of view, we have a blue sky thinking and what we would like to do and where we feel we need to strengthen. We just have to play that one by ear to see how that goes over the coming weeks.
We saw yesterday the announcement in regards to the young players at the club that you're looking to progress in the coming months. It must be pleasing to have seen their development to this point and the excitement now about seeing where you can take them to next.
Yeah, I think it's probably important to say that the massive pressure that we've had over the last 2 years, I think that we were categorically told that we had to get ourselves promoted from the Championship, and listen, that's the nature of football. We know that that's what comes with the territory. Fortunately we've done that. We knew we had to stay in the Premier League this season. That was a kind of non-negotiable. We had to ensure that we kept the club in the Premier League. And I think it's great to say that we've achieved that. It's a good point to acknowledge the fact that we're obviously going to be a Premier League club next season. But now obviously this gives us a wee opportunity, hopefully, to pave a way for some of our young kids to come through, and the announcement that you rightly say is a welcome one. I always go back to the fact, and I sound like the Grim Reaper in saying this, there's an opportunity there, and some of these guys have been highlighted, and I'll probably use young Josh Reid, young left back, as an example on that. He goes straight into the first team squad for whenever we start back, hopefully sometime mid-June. That opportunity is there. That now comes upon us to try and educate these guys and facilitate their progression, but the biggest onus goes on to them to go and prove and go and show, like was always the case in the game, that you can play at a level. So we think it's a good announcement. It's good for the area, knowing that there's a couple of local kids that are doing well, and we're thinking about them in relation to our first team.
It's been well documented by the chairman in recent weeks, the significant financial implications to the club because of COVID-19. How do you manage that situation in terms of looking at budgets and trying to make the best budget fit for what you want to deliver next year?
I think I think myself and Stephen always look at this one where we believe that we have our place in the food chain as a football club, in terms of what you should spend and what you can spend. Of course, we would all want to sit there with an endless supply of money. That's not going to be there for any club during this situation. We know that. Probably again, referring back to the last couple of years, there have been cuts in the budget over the last couple of years off the back of relegation from the Premier League and then working our way back in. Our budget doesn't sit the same as it did the last time we were in the Premier League. And again, I know that can be used as an excuse by many people. That's certainly not the case. We still believe it's competitive. This scenario obviously brings in another situation where money's going to be tight for every club. I think as a manager, I think you have to relish those challenges, and I think you have to be astute in your recruitment and what you do around about the football club and various initiatives that I know guys like yourself and many others at the football club have been involved in, Dale. So they're all wee things that we thrive on, and hopefully if we can put all our heads together we can find the right formula for going forward.
Over the past few weeks, yourself, Stephen and a few of the other staff have been getting on the phones and speaking to a lot of the supporters during lockdown, especially the more vulnerable ones. It must be nice to get the time to have those conversations that in a normal season you wouldn't necessarily have the time to get round to doing those kind of things. Yeah,
thoroughly humbling experience, I have to say. It's been brilliant. I think we obviously speak to Stephen and some of the other guys that have been in contact with our supporters. I think we started with the over 65s. That's now sort of branched out into other areas of our fan base, and it genuinely has. I've had some amazing stories, and I've literally sat at the other end of a phone and listened to other people speak, which has been great. I think when you speak to somebody, I obviously don't want to go into too much detail, but somebody that's suffering from serious illness and is telling me about the early days of playing in the Highland League, which I'm really interested in. People that know me know that I'm interested in the history of the football club, not just what happens just now. But when he says that the highlight of that is then thinking that you're sitting with 19,000 Ross County fans at Hampden and never imagining that scenario is going to happen, it's a great story of a football club, but it's great to hear it from the people that have actually lived it in the terraces as well. And I think that if we can give a little back for what our supporters give us and give up a wee bit of time. You know that I live in the local area, Dale, and you know I speak to people on a regular basis, so I think I've always been in that network, but it's been great to branch out and speak to other folk and hopefully give them a little back.
And you were obviously one of the first people to sign up to the New Staggies Army initiative. From your perspective, how important is the Army going to be going forward, over the next few years for the club?
I think it's a brilliant initiative. Obviously I'm biased, but I think the idea originally, certainly what was in my head when it was proposed, was thinking about this elite group of supporters, trying to allow our supporters to connect with us through a really difficult time. Obviously it's a scenario where there's some sort of income at the football club, so the supporters are giving something back to the football club, but equally with the initiatives that are there and the perks that are there, I think it gives something back to our fans. I think it's a great thing. Personal story again was my parents were suffering with the COVID virus, and I thought it'd be a great thing to go away and get it for them. I thought it was a good wee pick-me-up at the time, and with some of the perks that were there for them. For my kids, I've got young kids and also to get them to join. So I think the response has been brilliant, Dale. It's been really good, and by speaking to people on the phone, there's been so many people that have been positive in that scenario as well. So it all links, and it's a feel-good factor in this challenging time.
As you say, it's something that has been designed for our fans, but to see the amount of people within the club, players, staff, that have come on board and joined it, it really re-emphasises the message of Ross County being a close unit, a family almost, and that we are all in this together at this time.
I think you've just hit the nail on the head. I think that's exactly what it is. That was certainly what the target was, what the aim was, and I think when we look at our people within the football club, you've got good people. When at no point was MD prompted to join this Staggies Army, and you look through our staff and you look through our players, I think every single signed player at the football club has joined without being prompted. And again, I think that tells you something, how much they've invested in the football club and they want to give something back, but they also want to be a part of something as well. And as I say, that link then comes from, in my opinion, staff, players, supporters. We're all in this together. It sort of says what it does in the tin, and I believe it's something that can go on for hopefully years to come.
As we round up, a bit of fun for you. What has been keeping you occupied during lockdown? Has it been, workouts? Has it been binge watching on Netflix? What's been keeping you occupied?
Well, some of you need workouts more than others, Dale, so no, I've not been too bad. I've had a bit of everything, to be honest with you. I've got 3 kids and I've got another one in the way, so genuinely it's been nice for me to spend a wee bit more time with them. I've been working through this whole period, as many as have, but it's been nice for me to spend a wee bit more time with them, because this is a tough job. It's a brilliant job, but certainly from a family point of view and trying to be a father a little bit more, it's been great. There's been a few documentaries in there. I'm big in my documentaries. The one everybody's speaking about is the Last Dance, which I've watched, and other than that, trying to keep myself fit and active, and it's been probably a period for reflection for me. This has been a whirlwind six years or so since I finished playing. I don't think I've lifted my head in that period, so it's been great for reflection to see what's went well and what could be done better. So hopefully can try and put some of that into practice going forward.
Stuart, thank you for taking the time to speak to us this morning. We'll hopefully catch up with you again soon.